I believe this is what we need right now for this show. Hello, everybody. There we go. Let's not loop that round again. Welcome, everybody. This is the best you're going to get for the Metal Gear Solid impersonation, because today's show is quite simple. We are looking at the pistol, there we go, on this side of my shoulder, for the most feared pistol found on the field, the Mark 23. It's simple but deadly. The range of a sniper rifle, but the impact of a bee sting. So today's question is simple. For everyone who's watching right now, tell me, is the Mark 23 the best pistol around? But of course, it can't be a yes or no answer. That would be really boring, and what a sucky show that would be for your live stream. So today we're also going to talk about the tips and tricks to improve performance, the availability of upgrades, and you're going to learn about the number one online Mark 23 resource. Because it's starting right now, welcome to the Airsoft Nation podcast.
You're listening to the Airsoft Nation podcast, giving you your airsoft news, interviews, and the occasional rants. This podcast is recorded live every week, and you can join us when you visit airsoftnationpodcast.com. Now your host, Graham Hoffman.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm your host, Graham Hoffman, and we are live every Monday, so why not join the subscriber squad to get notified each time we go live? All you got to do is call your hit. That's right. Type hit in the comment box below, and our lovely Pewbot will be in touch. If you are catching the replay on YouTube or iTunes, don't forget to hit the big old subscribe button so you don't miss any future announcements. Now, talking about the new show, we've been running, as I counted today. We're not finished yet, people. We're not finished. So, talking about the show, now we've been running for the last 11 weeks straight, and every time it's been a Monday. But from next year, 2019, we're going to switch that up a bit. So we're going to be moving to Wednesday evenings. Same time, Wednesday evenings. And to make sure you do get notified, definitely make sure you sign up to the Pewbots notification, the subscriber squad. Again, just type hit in the box below, just like Matthew did right there, and he'll get notified, or Lee right there, and you'll get notified every time we go live. So we have a fantastic show lined up today, and 2019 guest list is already building. So if you are interested in featuring in the show, or you know someone who is, get them to get in touch with the Facebook page so we can get the rest of the lineup organized. Pretty much quarter one will be finalized within a week or two, so it's going to be absolutely awesome. Now, moving on to today's show. I've used this pistol right here, the Mark 23, for years, but it's only been the last 24 months where we've seen that true potential being unlocked. And with Christmas right around the corner, now might be that perfect time to either pick one up for yourself or perhaps a few upgrades and discover what all the fuss is about. But before we bring on our guest for this evening, I'd like to welcome the live audience, the best of the Airsoft community. The Airsoft Nation is right there in the chat. So guys, if you're watching live, leave a comment right now and tell me, do you have a Mark 23? Or have you previously owned a Mark 23? And what's your thoughts? Is it the best pistol available? And while you're doing that, let's just see who is in the comments. Anthony, thank you so much for just popping in right there. Really good to see you there. Thank you for all your support over the years. It's been massively appreciated. Blake saying he despised the pistol. That's what everyone on the wrong side of the fun button says. There we go. Lee's just saying he needs the skin. Of course. Lee, drop your comment right now with the link to the skins for sure, because they are fantastic. I'm so glad you finally got them sorted, and I will definitely have to put an order in soon. Gary Fox says he's got 4. Kenneth's got 2. Wow, guys, I'm glad to see I'm not the only crazy one So I've had two in the past. I've gone from the ASG, now I've got the TM1. Can't fault them at all. They are a fantastic pistol, which is why it's important that we have this amazing guest on this evening. So let's get on with it. A leading voice and indisputable evangelist for the most offensive handgun in the airsoft market, for sure. Brad is the owner of the OnMyMark.com, a blog or knowledge base with an obsessive focus on the legendary Mark 23 and its cult-like users like you guys in the comment box right now. He's got more than 10 years of playing experience in the UK, and Brad has now helped drive the global Mark 23 movement for the last 4 years while living in Norway. Brad, welcome to the show. Let's make sure you are unmuted, as we said beforehand. Welcome to the show, Brad.
Thanks very much, Graham. Pleasure to be on tonight. Appreciate the time.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You've got a great intro from the crowd already. You've got some of the most fanatical members of the community straight in there, boasting about the numbers.
Well, I was going to say, it's good to see the rest of the fan base jumping in there for the Mark 23. So Stakey's right there saying, it's my primary now with 8 mags on him. And I think that goes to a testament. There aren't many pistol users that have 8 mags for a secondary, so to speak.
Well, the question is it really a secondary term? That's the question.
Well, this is it. He says it's his primary, and I wouldn't blame him. It's definitely something we're going to touch on this show. So, Brad, take a minute and tell us why. Why the Mark 23? What was so special about it that you've decided to kind of focus your attention so much?
Yeah, sure. Straight in with a big question, obviously. It has a lot to do with your intro, surprisingly. I mean, that is kind of the key to what makes it special. But obviously, there are loads of factors that really make Mark 23 such a Marmite of a gun. It's something you really sort of hate or you love, and for a lot of people, it takes a long time before they actually get the taste of it and find out that they might actually like the taste of Marmite and the Mark 23 itself. So going back to your intro, like Metal Gear is obviously an example, and I think for a lot of people that own the Mark 23, that nostalgia sort of comes into it. And I only started playing MGS way back in 2000 on the PC. So it wasn't until like 14 years later that I actually got the pistol myself. But when, leading up to that process, when I eventually got the pistol, those nostalgic factors sort of that I grew up with, like MGS, Tears of the Sun, Soldier, like those are all classics that feature the Mark 23. And only once I owned the Mark 23 did I sort of appreciate those nostalgic values that came from those films and the games. And that just sort of owning the pistol after all that really made it something special to own, sort of like a collector's piece. And then, it's not until you're actually out in the field running around with this crew operated pistol, the sheer size of it is something, that sort of inspires fear. And you've only got 28 rounds versus a bunch of AG players. It sort of gives you the sense of like superpowers of actually being, one of these guys in the games and the films. And I think that's like the real key reason why it's so special to a lot of people. And when other people see you with this pistol and this hand cannon, and especially if you're rocking on the day and you're like getting, decent kill count, it's just infectious. People see it and they think, well, this guy's only using a pistol. How's he doing this? And what's so good about this gun that that he's able to do this, and that makes other people actually want to do the same. It's just like, it's probably the most infectious weapon in airsoft that I've ever seen. There's such a high conversion rate. Like, you can see people at the end of a skirmish day, they're on their phone, they're already checking out prices for their budget. It's insane. I've never seen a pistol like that able to do so much damage in terms of emptying wallets. So
well, I was going to say, for the performance and the price, there isn't a lot more of value you're going to get. If you want that range of a sniper rifle, but it's probably 25% of the total cost. And I do know there are loads of snipers that even say, don't get a sniper rifle first of all, just get a Mark 23 and find out if you like the play style.
I mean, you touched on the performance, and even as a stock, out of the box weapon, like for many years, a lot of people, up until probably, early 2014, before we started seeing some of the really big upgrades, a lot of people were running their pistols with a few additional DIY mods for, up to 10 years. I know Gary's in the chat, you saw him come up earlier, and one of his pistols is over 10 years old, and until he showed up in the community a few years ago, that was his pistol, and he rocked that for 10 years. You can't beat that sort of return of investment for a pistol or any airsoft replica. On average, you're thinking, you're looking over maybe 120 pounds for at the low end for a TM Mark 23, and you might end up with that pistol for a good 5 years or so without having to touch it. I don't know another airsoft platform that is so reliable and gives back so much for the amount that you invest in it. It's really great.
I'd say my original Mark 23 will be coming on 10 years at this point. I no longer have it. I've passed it on to get the TM version, but that was I want to say it's STTI or ASG or I think it was something assassin at that point. But yeah, 10 years, the person who I've sold it to still uses it when they go to skirmish as their secondary. And that's like you say, the longevity of the Mark 23. And I wonder if half of that's due to the fact it is a non-blowback.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's less moving parts, and you've got less to go wrong. And you say that your first one was a clone, and again, that the value for that, you're looking at 40 pounds.
Yeah, 40 pounds. That's right.
Right.
Yeah, it's
and
insane.
You could even buy an additional pistol and get an extra mag with a spare pistol for that value. That's what a lot of people end up doing. And don't worry about getting additional mags. Just have about 6 holsters and run that. Awesome.
Just
feature.
Highlight that. Thank you very much, Brad, for that one. But someone just said TM Master Race. Look at that. That is exactly it. That is the Master Race right there.
Dave knows it. So yeah, I mean, just in terms of getting in and stuck in and getting your own pistol, it couldn't be any easier than that. And there's very little risk in terms of if you don't like it, so be it. The resale value is probably incredibly high as well. But the chances are you're going to like it afterwards.
Yeah, and it's important to say, and I'm just preparing this right now, is we were talking earlier before the show how it's not necessarily just for snipers now.
No, of course not. It's actually surprising how many users are coming into the community, and they're coming from all walks of life in the airsoft scene, and their reasons for having one are like vast and different in every almost case. And in the last 3 years since I've been in the Mark 23 community, we've seen people from obviously mil-simmers to regular skirmishers, all the way to Speedsoft. We had a player from a US team called LTD. They're quite well known for being alongside SYG. They were some of the leading Speedsofters. And this guy, he just wanted to have a Mark 23 for the pure swag of it and running around, getting these silent kills in indoor environment, and not worrying about the trigger speed of it, because that wasn't, he was confident enough to use that and get these laser shots in a very confined environment with very, very short time on target. So people investing in it because its performance and consumption, gas consumption, is just unbeatable. And the upgrades, we can get onto that later, but they're almost limitless. So I mean,
I've just brought up a poll there, Brad, just to say, okay, guys, if you are watching right now, tell us what type of player are you right now. So there is a poll on screen, and if you're on mobile, next to where you type chat button, there should be a poll icon. I believe it's a purple one with icons. And if you're on desktop, somewhere near the top right, you should see a little icon with a poll button. Tell us today what type of player you are if you are using the Mark 23, because I'd be very interested to know. So carry on, Brad. Sorry about that. I thought I'd just bring that up, and I will show the results. I'll show the results for people in a few minutes.
Yeah, that'd be great to hear. Especially, I mean, Obviously, when people think of the Mark 23, the primary sort of home that people can relate to is, yeah, it's a stealthier weapon. It's going to be stealthier player, the sniper, the stalker, that's going to use it with a suppressor on it. And that's, I guess, is true. But you kind of you don't appreciate the challenge of using it until you dedicate your time to using it as a primary. You say, all right, today no AEG, no rifle, nothing. I'm going to just go out with a pistol and see what I can do. And a lot of players, like, they'll, especially like we've seen in the Mark 23 community, you'll have newbies or long-term players, long-term snipers that will come in and just say, hey, yesterday I was at a skirmish game and all I used was my pistol, and it's probably one of the greatest days I've had like in a long time, because you've changed the whole way that you play. You've had to slow it down, or you've had to speed it up, because you have had to avoid AEG players and they have high caps or whatever, and all you've got is your limited mag, or you have maybe 4 mags and a speed loader, and that changes your whole mindset. And it, you really have to appreciate what the Mark 22 is capable of. You take the time to take the steady, slow and steady shots, and then you start to realize, okay, maybe I don't need that bolt action. It's incredible how you start to appreciate the Mark 23 for what it is.
No, absolutely. And we can already see by the results now that we do have some assault players tuning in live now that use the Mark 23. We've got snipers there, and there's a lot of sneaky people. People consider themselves sneaky. And as you said a minute ago, that kind of thrill of the fight when you've only got one pistol versus people with AEGs, and you've got to strategically work out when's the best way to fire. However, for the Speedsoft guys over there, that perhaps this isn't the weapon that they tend to use.
No,
because
like I said,
there's no results there.
Who really enjoyed the swag of it, but they should give it a go. I can actually say in response to that, give it a go for a day, see how you get on. Maybe you get through the field a bit more quietly and undetected. You don't knock it until you try it, I guess.
No, absolutely. I think the trigger is always the discussion point when stuff like this, especially in CQB. Having taken my Mark 23 many a times indoors, I am now looking for something that's a little bit snappier on the trigger. But before we do that, let me just quickly bring up our sponsor segment of the evening. Let's turn the overlay off. Guys, next week, so typically I would promote the website, the app's still not out yet, but the new app should be reviewed before Christmas. Apple have confirmed it will be done before Christmas. They are delayed at the moment due to all the increased of apps trying to get through before Christmas shuts, because Apple closed down their app store just after the 20th of December. But we're not promoting that today. What we're promoting is next Monday the 17th, where we would traditionally do the live show, do the podcast. I have worked with the Floperator podcast and the Chairsofter show, both Andy and Carlo, and we have put together the Unpopular Airsoft Awards, our parody take on the best events throughout the year, or the worst events, I should say, from throughout the year. So you can expect categories like Worst Event of the Year, Most Controversial Player of the Year, and perhaps the most unstockiest of stockists, going out to all those retailers who say they've got something there until you try and order. So like I say, it's meant to be plenty of fun. The recording's been done. The people who won the award have even done acceptance speeches. It's going to be epic, and it will be streamed live on Monday the 17th, traditionally between 7 and 8 p.m. But I will promote that more and more throughout the week, but definitely stay tuned for that, since it should be a fantastic laugh with trophies going around just before we break up for Christmas. So thank you very much for that, and appreciate all the support. So if you're just tuning in now, we are talking with Brad from onmymark.com about the Mark 23 and why it is by far one of the most superior, if not the most superior pistols out on the field, even though it's not necessarily a new pistol, especially to some of us who have had them for many, many years. Brad, How did you discover it? Since we've discussed why, but how did you personally find it, and how long ago was that?
Oh yeah, I guess the first time would be obviously in the UK. I started airsofting in 2009. So I joined a team probably early 2010, a group of friends, and there was this one guy on my team. He was a bit of a hulk. He was, large guy, and I saw him using this pistol, and this pistol was massive. At the time, I was using an AEG, and I had a USP compact. And I don't know, I'll just quickly show you on screen, but this is a USP 45. You can see it looks pretty large in my hand, I guess. And then he was running around with this, and you see it. You can compare it, and they're monsters. Like there's this little thing on the top here is a monster, and this guy was large enough to get away with it. And I thought, no, that's not for me. It's too large. I can't be seen with that. So it wasn't until 14 years later, roughly, that I sort of started paying attention to this Mark 23, because about 3 years ago, when I arrived in Norway, I noticed that the whole style of play, the terrain, the pace of play, and the weapons that people were using was completely different. There was no running and gunning, because the terrain was just too difficult and it was too dangerous. If you put a foot wrong, you could end off a cliff, where you break a leg. And it's like, it's not an exaggeration. It really is that diverse. So I had to make some adjustments, because I realized that I'm not going to be able to keep up with my fast preferred style of play. And I started looking into sniping, and to see what was available. Obviously, starting with bolt action rifles, that's a maze. Like if you're a new player and you're looking at sniping, it's a maze, and you don't know where the entrance is, let alone the exit. There's just so much. There's so much to consider. Different platforms, you have different brands, and it's overwhelming. So naturally, I did what a lot of people did. They jumped on forums, they jumped on YouTube, and started looking for examples and inspirations. And there was just a lot of choice even then. And it wasn't until I stumbled across someone called Vavan. He's a French sniper.
Oh yes.
Yeah, he was uploading videos like maybe 8 years ago.
YouTube years ago, yeah, that's it.
Right. So it wasn't until like I spotted him, and I started seeing some of his videos. I was like, okay, yeah, this guy knows what he's doing. And then there was this one particular video. He was doing a CQB day, and he was using a Mark 23 with a scope cam on it. That's probably one of the first videos I ever saw with a scope cam on a Mark 23. And he was going through and he was clearing rooms like nobody's business. It was with ease and silence. And his buddy, his spotter, he was using a Mark 23 as well. The two of them were just going through and clearing rooms. I thought, okay, well, this looks pretty cool. I remember this pistol, and obviously that started me on the trail. So I then started looking everywhere about this pistol, trying to investigate it, trying to find out what was so cool about it. And then that obviously got me leading onto other YouTube channels, some of the bigger names. I'm sure you can, hazard a guess. And they were, using this pistol to such incredible ability and stealth, and to the same level that they could achieve with a bolt action. It was just it was like, this is probably the gun I should invest in. And I started looking at the prices and the parts available, and there wasn't much there. And I thought, okay, well, I can start with this and learn how to be a sniper, how to play stealthily, and get all the basics done. And if I find that I like it and enjoy it, make the decision to invest in a bolt action and take that on when I get to it. And I think this is something a lot of people can probably relate to. And I certainly hope that I wasn't the only one when coming to this point. And I find that when you see new people come in and say, "Hey, I'm new to Airsoft. I want to get a sniper." Obviously, everyone shuts them down and says, "No, it's a bad idea," right?
Yeah.
But conversely, I would probably go in and say, "Actually, I appreciate what you want to do. You want to go snipe. You've seen, some of the big names on YouTube. You're probably inspired by them, but hold off on the bolt action. Start on the Mark 23. Learn the basics. Find out if it's your style of play." And worst case, you haven't invested several £100s in a bolt action system, because first thing everyone does is gets the basic platform and sticks in hundreds and £100 of upgrades on it.
Exactly.
and spends the next 2 years spending more £100 on it, trying to get it perfect because they've got a slight curl on their hop up because they failed to install it correctly. So it's like, that's how I got into it. And then I was really down the rabbit hole then. I started to get a taste for it. I knew that this play style was for me, and it suited the environment. It suited, get my Springer out. Where is it? You mean this one? You can't tell the difference. How can you tell? So, anyway, so that was.
But you're 100% right. You're 100% right about the amount of people that go, don't do it, and that just doesn't help anyone, because every beginner is going to be like, nope, I know best, even though they've never played. It's that kind of like, that didn't help me. Whereas to say, don't spend this much money on it. Get a sidearm, the Mark 23. It will do what you want a sniper. You just adapt to the playstyle, accept the fact that you've got limited ammunition because you have, smaller ammo capacity.
Right.
If you don't enjoy the playstyle, worst case scenario, you've got a secondary for when you do get a primary AEG. You're not really out of anything then. And as Gary,
so you go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry, as Gary's rightly just said, it's only going to cost you about 65 quid to upgrade that Mark 23, and it doesn't matter if it's a clone or a TM. Or a TM Master Race.
It's effectively a stubby VSR, but internally you have the same components. You can stick a VSR barrel in there, stick a VSR hop, and you're pretty much good to go in terms of upgrades. And that's like, there's even memes about this, like people saying it's the best sniper rifle they've ever owned. You got a picture of the Mark 23. It's true. I now own a bolt action rifle, and I still find myself going back to the pistol. Just because it's what I know, and the ease of it is just comparable, really. And as I said, once you put some really basic upgrades into it, you can start throwing out heavyweight BBs, upwards of 0.4 gram to out to 70 meters. And I don't know another platform that you could do that in without spending considerably more amount of money on.
I was going to say, in terms of cost value, there's just nothing that comes anywhere close to that kind of performance from the same price level. And like you say, you get the same experience and almost the same feeling wherever you had a bolt action or the Mark 23 upgraded. It doesn't matter that you're not kind of cocking each shot. You do have a limited shot of 28 rounds, which is potentially even less than some of the magazines that are out there.
Right.
Yeah.
The community's made absolute leaps and bounds regarding upgrade parts. In the last 2 years, we've seen complete change of the atmosphere, I would call it. Like, the scene is completely different. Now, this ridiculous upgrade parts, thanks to the innovations of 3D printers in the community.
So let's talk about that. That's definitely an area I'd like to discuss. So let's go with, if you were brand new to the Mark 23, and it doesn't matter if it was a clone or the TM, I should say with that, is there one you recommend over the other, or is there a reason why, if the budget wasn't the issue?
Right. I think in today's climate right now, after everything considered, I would I'm probably going to get hate for this, but I would say go with the clone and spend the additional money you would have spent on the TM on some upgrade parts. You're going to get 99% of the experience from the clone as you would on the TM. There's some like connoisseur type issues that are present in the clone that aren't in the TM, and obviously the quintessential TM Mark 23 owner would fight you to the death on it. But you'll get the same experience from the clone. You'll get the range, the accuracy, and you'll know whether you like it or not, and you can invest later on a TM. So,
and where would you start in? So if you said, right, get the Mark 23, and maybe they've gone out with a couple of games, they enjoy using it, be aware with the clone, obviously, that is a barrel extension. So it may be hot in certain conditions or overpowered in certain conditions. But what would be the first upgrades you would recommend?
I wouldn't spend a penny, actually. There's a bunch of DIY no-cost mods that you can do to your pistol and get it to increase the FPS, to increase the trigger response, to increase the hop-up. These are all things you don't need to spend a penny on. You can literally use an old pen mod using, I think, a bit of the Inside Ink And you can cut that in half and stick it on the hop arm and send the BBs to 60 meters without touching, your wallet at any point. But obviously, you get to a point where you
These are all
think,
available on your website, are they? Just to
yeah, yeah,
say, yeah. So I'm showing the website right now, so they are available on onmymarket.com.
we have a pretty detailed upgrade guide which puts you through step by step. You can just click that icon right there, and it'll take you in. And it breaks it down on a FPS, accuracy, quality of life, and they all sort of, there's no, you don't have to start at a certain point. You can do any of them in any order, and they'll take you to a new sort of stage in your Mark 23 experience. Obviously, you get to a point where you might have to start spending money, and then there's the quintessential mod that I think any Mark 23 right now would tell you. They would say get the top-down center mod, 3D printed dust cover that basically applies the hop up directly onto the hop arm, and that is the enabler. That is what has broken boundaries in terms of the Mark 23's performance in the last 2 years. And that's I don't know if I can do a shout out here, but that's to Hadron Airsoft Designs. He's one of the recognized printers in the Mark III, and now the Glock community. I guess he's really branching out.
Branched out, is it? Yeah, I was going to say, I've got the Hadron Designs TTC mod and love it. And like you say, that was definitely the enabler from using kind of where you were sticking on 0.28s and 0.3s. And then suddenly it's like, right, 0.45s are actually fine. 0.48s are actually lifting easy. And it's like, wow, that one mod alone. And was it 15 quid?
Yeah,
it's not
around
a huge expense. Yeah, it's not a huge expense when people consider upgrades for their rifles. This is less than the price of a barrel. Yet it gives you that massive, massive performance jump.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think the upgradability and availability of parts on the Mark 23 platform is probably what is setting it apart from other NBB platforms right now. I mean, you can get a USB NBB, you can get CO2 NBBs, but none of them have that sort of upgradability. Maybe barring the Mark 1, which is sort of catching up now, but that's really keeping it ahead of the curve. And I don't know if you don't mind if I just show you something. The sort of the extreme.
Go for it.
So
while you're doing that, I will just say that Kamane is talking about my good friend who has got the MagStack upgrade to help for magazine jams. If you are experiencing any magazine jams with your Mark 23, just take a look. I won't even try and pronounce the name because I will butcher that. But just search that, whether it's on Facebook or even on Google at this point. It should come up with the MagStack upgrade kit for sure. Sure
thing. I highly recommend that as well. It's been a great fixer to a lot of jamming issues, so I can recommend OMMK on that one.
Good shout out to Philip there.
Yeah, but as you can see in my hands, I've got something that, it doesn't really represent Mark 23 anymore, but inside here is a standard Mark 23 with an extended inner barrel, 300 millimeters, and it has an output of about 450 FPS. There you go. And you can customize this as much as you like. You can go for a extended stock, you can go for skeleton stock, full stock, red dot sight. There's no real limits on this. So this is a complete door opener to a whole different aspect of using the Mark 23. This carbine kit.
I'll just repeat that for anyone who's looking at this going, what's this to do with the Mark 23? That is a Mark 23 in a body kit. So known as the carbine kit. That is a Mark 23 inside there.
Just take the lamb off here for a second.
Yeah, it's just for some people who may look at that and go, well, how's that to even relate to the Mark 23? It's actually a body kit for the Mark 23. I presume this was done by the Foundry?
Yeah, this is done by Foundry Airsoft, so another 3D printer in the community. And his designs vary from what I've got in my hands now to a VSS Vinterest kit with the full integrated suppressor. He's working on a ball pup design, so you end up basically holding it here with a foregrip trigger, remote trigger on the front end here. So I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it takes an already an amazing platform in a pistol, and gives you the support of a stock and also an optic, and that really makes you make use of that extended range that the pistol is capable of. So you can actually start identifying targets at 70 meters and know that you can effectively hit them out to like 70 plus. And you don't need to worry about the stability of your hand because you've got that whole platform. So that is, I mean, just to compare it to an SRS, size-wise, obviously I've got a compact here,
16
G
there, isn't
spec,
it? Yeah.
but I mean the length is, you can go as short and long as you want. So, and they're both, this one obviously shoots a bit farther, but this is very capable of catching up to that. Like there's not much in it.
And at half
So
the cost.
exactly half the cost. Yeah, it's probably more than that actually, but yeah, it's really amazing what you can do with it. There's it's such a versatile platform.
So let's talk about. So we've looked, obviously you've got the Hadron Designs TDC mod, which is a top-down center, enables you to go from you can 0.28s, 0.3s up to your 0.45s, and that area there. We've got the carbine kit there. If you really want to break away from the pistol look, but also get that stability of a rifle with a stock against shoulder. What about the barrel? Because people always ask about this. What's your go-to barrel right now for the Mark 23?
For your stock length barrel, like a lot of people have, it's one of the mods is to drill out the outer barrel right here to allow a bit of a longer one go through, because the way that the gas efficiency works in the Mark 23 is that, like a lot of GBBs, gas expands in the barrel the longer it is, and the longer the barrel, the higher the FPS. So people are sort of min-maxing their performance from the Mark 23 by using a slightly longer barrel, maybe a tighter bore as well, because it all has a lot of effect on the way the gas moves around in the barrel. So I mean the fan favorite right now is from Maple Leaf, the Crazy Jet barrel. It's sort of the staple. It came about probably a year ago, and ever since then it's just sort of caught on fire, I guess. But it has very little effect, I guess, at the end of the day. As long as you increase the length and the bore, you can see the results. So just get what you can afford. There's no must-have. There's obviously a preference, and something the Crazy Jet is well tested, it's well received, so it's reliable. You're going to have a decent result with that, because one of the key factors on it is the hop window is a lot larger than the stock barrel, for example. So that lets you use longer hop rubbers with larger contact patches. So that is probably one of the key aspects to the range that we're seeing from the pistol. So that's obviously a good starting point.
Yeah, absolutely. And take right there, as Kydex Customs Holsters just says, you can really tell by the popularity of the Mark 23, it's probably one of the top 3 holsters they sell. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I run a Kydex as well, so I can agree to that.
Yeah, I've not got the Kydex. I run the Double Tap Designs 3D printed holster. There's definitely issues around, well, there were issues about what you could holster more than a couple of years ago, where people were stuck with the universal cloth holsters and losing mags. But right now, Kydex, if you really want protection and the option to use a silencer with it, or the Double Tap Designs and the 3D printed ones are great if you want that quick release system, for sure. I'm a big fan of both solutions, for sure.
Yeah, DTD has come again from version 1. It's come leaps and bounds as well. It's the retention on it is I've never had a problem. Only recently upgraded to 1 on a cross draw configuration. So again, 3D printed. These are one of our community 3D printers. The Mark 23 community has a wealth of them, and they just keep on giving and giving, and the innovations are astounding every time. Again, from Hadron, we recently saw his MTDC, which is a modular TDC, and it allows you to change the direction or the impact on the hop arm. So you can account for left and right spin, or whether you want to have direct input on the nub or on the hop arm, and even has an option to mount a red dot or RMR on top of the TDC itself, which is, previously you've had to do things like add on a RIS rail to the back of the slide, and that's been awkward and cumbersome as well. But now it mounts here, so it's again, 3D printers are really helping us progress as a community and also as a platform.
Awesome. Right. So one thing I want to address before we talk about the blog, Novrich recently, and again, this has only really sparked in the last couple of days. Recently, he did a video, and a few people commented that he looks like he's running a Mark 23, but not just any Mark 23, the shape of a Mark 23, but potentially his own next pistol model. We can see that it's got the wrapping around it. What do you think? Have you seen this? Have you heard about this?
I've seen screenshots. I saw the video. I wouldn't be surprised. He's a early user of the Mark 23. Some of his earlier videos featured it quite a lot. Sniper buddy Fadaby, who's his sidekick, I guess, or co-star. He used one for a long time too. So I think they're both fans of it, and I think obviously Mark 23, once it gets hold of you and you start using it, it's always going to have a special place in your airsoft heart. So I think for him to come back to it it's natural, I guess. But now that he's in this position to develop his own platforms and his own products, why not? Why not go back to the pistol that you really enjoyed using and give it a new lease of life?
His feedback was always that it was boring to watch for a recording. And a few people have mentioned how it seems to have a faster rate of fire. Do we think maybe he's gone for blowback version?
I think it's NBB. I think a lot of people underestimate how quickly the trigger can go on a Mark 23. So I mean, it's if you've got a strong finger and you train with it, you can go pretty quick. And I think people don't know. I think they underestimate how fast it goes. So I think it's an NBB. And
so if you haven't heard that, that was basically Norwich is hiring speed softers to learn how to fire.
Right. Yeah.
Truth is out.
Yeah. So I think it'll become upgraded. I reckon it'll be a clone model with a few upgrades on it. Probably a new internal inner barrel, hop rubber, and probably maybe a 14mm adapter on the outer barrel with an external rail and under rail. I think that will probably be what we'll see from it. But he can surprise us. We can bring out something that we've never seen before.
No, absolutely, and that'll be exciting for sure. Like you say, it may just be something that's fully upgraded to the max, and while it may be a rebrand, it'd be interesting to see what comes out for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's move on to On My Mark. What is it? How can people find it, and what should they go there for?
Yeah, sure. It's simple terms. It's like a traditional Wikipedia, but it's also a bit of a time capsule of sorts. So like when I obviously first started using the Mark 23, I explained to you that it took a long time to find any info on anything. Ever since sort of the arrival of social media, Facebook, we've seen forums of like the old days sort of go dark, and trying to delve into those forums and find relevant info and topics has been really hard because they just sort of been lost to time. And as forums have moved on, moderators and admins have not kept it organized. So that was really difficult. And as a new user, I wanted everything I could find on it. I wanted to learn and to experiment and to upgrade. And even on Facebook, as these new groups showed up, the info was appearing as quickly as it was just disappearing, and vice versa. You could see something, a new mod, something that someone had tried, and within 8 hours, it was gone. You'd lost it on the feed, and you couldn't find it anymore. And without saving these pages or having like an informed member of the community tell you about it and relink to the articles and the sources, you just had repetition of questions and people asking the same stuff, struggling to find out what they needed to know. And so, like, as I was learning and experiencing this, I found it really frustrating, and I put myself in place of someone that would come into the platform and realize that it's as hard as it was. And so I wanted to capture everything I could on it, all the info, techniques and mods that were, on the internet throughout the time. And I wanted to make the journey easier and have it in one place for everyone to learn and to be accessible, at all times. No dependencies on Facebook groups or forums. And so that pretty much, gave birth to On My Mark. I hadn't found anything like it. I couldn't find a resource that had as much info on it. So, and there was no other existing examples of anyone else doing something similar. So yeah, that really sort of, that was how it came about. But it's a blog firstly and an archive after. So the hard-coded stuff, like the basic guides, the accuracy, FPS, and quality of life stuff, that's pretty much static, and it doesn't change very often until the meta changes and new upgrades are brought in and new parts are brought in, and that's what the blog serves. It's constantly living. It's updated as we get news and info on that, and that's sort of on the front page, that gun overview that you get, that will take you into a relevant section of the blog and keep you sort of updated on those new tidbits as they come in. So it serves as an accessible portal for information on the Mark 23.
Well, Brad, I think personally it's an awesome resource, and it's something that I've used. It's something that when you first showed me, I said how much it's very much needed, not just for the Mark 23 community, because I believe that every kind of niche down community on their rifles or parts should have a resource that is as valuable as that. So guys, if you are watching now, definitely head over to onmymark.com, have a look through there, whether it's the guides, the tutorials, the news, the part lists, the retailers around the world who will have the lists are all up there. Brad, thank you so much for joining us. Is there anything else you'd like to say before closing?
No, just go out and try it. If you've never used one before and you know someone who has one, just ask them, see if you can borrow it for the day. Experience the pistol, see what the whole cult is about, the whole lifestyle behind the pistol, and see why so many people are moving from it, putting away their AGs and cupboards, putting their rifles away, and just giving this pistol like so much attention and drive, and why they love it so much. Just get your hands on one, try it, see what you think, and check out the blog on mymark.com and the Facebook, and check out the Mark 23 owners group. It's a wealth of information, everyone's helpful, and it's all about giving back to the platform and just pushing it forward and seeing how far we can go and where we will be in the future.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Brad. Guys, that is it for the show today. I hope you have enjoyed it, and definitely head over to onmymark.com. Next week is our final show of the year. It's the Unpopular Airsoft Awards.
Thank you for listening to the Airsoft Nation podcast. If you've enjoyed the show, consider leaving a review or share this episode on social media now. Join us next time we go live. Visit airsoftnationpodcast.com and sign up to get the latest updates.